So the first session will be presented by Dejan Mitkovski. I think a lot of you guys already listened to or watched the podcast that we did. In fact, we had 2 parts. So Dejan and I had some great conversations. And actually we recorded the podcast because we were like, okay, we need to kind of immortalize that inspiration, we need to share it with the public. And Dejan is truly an inspiring data leader. So I know that in a lot of these conferences, you have speakers because the conference organizers only get, certain speakers, but Dejan is objectively someone who I think is a data leader who everyone can look up to in terms of how he manages the function, his team, and also the vision that he has. So he worked for Amazon, he was the head of analytics at Google, he worked for Microsoft as well, and he's now leveraging all that experience at FanDuel. It's a quickly growing company that, I don't know if you're familiar with FanDuel. So it's basically fantasy sports and gambling. Right. Yeah, in its essence. And you have a very hefty portion of the market share already under control, right? It's a very successful company. And Dejan currently in his mandate is making sure that being data-driven will not just be a buzzword, but it's really becoming a way of life there. So he's fighting those battles every day, and today he's going to share his experiences with you, how he sees the great opportunities in the industry today, and maybe also share some of his war stories and his playbook on how to drive change in large organizations. So without further ado, let's give it up for Dejan Mitkovski.
Hey guys, appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate you guys letting me kick off. Like Leslie said, my name's Dejan. I always tell everyone opposite of night off. Dejan, phonetic, it's not phonetic. And so I'm the VP of Data and Analytics at FanDuel. Like you said, FanDuel is an online gaming operator. We are #1 in the US right now, so 46% market share. I lead our analytics functions, I lead our data science functions, and I lead our data product functions across the company. So I'm up here because I want to talk about the fundamental changes that have happened, especially the last 10 years, right? I think there's 2 large fundamental shifts that have happened globally, right? The first one is the proliferation of data. Oh, and I don't think so this is called the billion clickogram. These are numbers in the billions of things that happen, consumer choice things that happen on a daily basis. So about 6 billion YouTube videos get viewed every single day, right? 5.7 billion Facebook likes, 5.6 billion Google searches, 2.5 billion Instagram photos viewed. 1.4 billion Tinder swipes. Interesting, right? But I want to put that into context for us. Oh, this background's not working. So, sorry, it was supposed to be a black background because there's a few other things on the bottom right. But I'm going to put it in some context. Globally, there's only 2.3 billion cups of coffee made every single day. How many people here have more than 1 cup of coffee a day? Think about that, right? You're almost 3x the number of YouTube views versus cups of coffee made globally every single day. The proliferation of data. How much data are we creating every single day? How much data does your company create every single day? And another one, there's a small box in the lower right-hand corner, which is 0.15, which is the number of people who voted in their last presidential election. Again, for context, right? This is like telling this to this group is like telling people water's wet, right? Data's important, but 90% of the world's data has been created in the past 2 years. So the first of the 2 fundamental changes is the proliferation of data. How much data do we actually create? And think about your own companies, think about your own organizations. How much data do you get on your users? How much data do you get on your products? The second is the computational power, right? In the year 2000, the cost of some volume of computational output costs about $1 million. I want to compare that to that little dot that just popped up, right? Because in 2021, the same computational power costs $10, right? So if you think about those two dynamics working together, where storing data, it used to be a problem. You used to have to actually budget for it. No one budgets for storing data anymore. You can store as much data as you want, right? It's like pennies, it's drops in a bucket, right? With all the data you're collecting. So then, with those two dynamics working, now we're talking about why our roles are so important to the company. It wasn't as important 20 years ago because you didn't have as much data and you didn't pay for all the storage and all the processing power. But now it's easy. You have a lot of data and then you have all the technology to do it. I mean, data can be the core to every single business. I think it's a data revolution over the past decade. It comes with the tremendous opportunities and large challenges. And we're going to dig into all of these during the master class. The opportunities. We have an opportunity to help our companies make better business decisions faster. It's literally the vision statement of my organization. Better business decisions. That's what we do. Right? Why? Because we enhance the customer experience. All of it with data. We uncover new opportunities. Developing new ways to think about business, new ways of marketing to do business, new ways for commercials to do business, new ways for our own core product teams to do business, right? And we improve efficiencies. I mean, how many people here have rolled something out at their company where you've actually taken human hours of doing a manual process down, right? And tremendously improve efficiencies. But what are the challenges? Low quality data. I was speaking last night to a few people about the quality of data. No malintent by anyone that we work with, but how many people here think their marketing departments are awesome about getting the right data for you guys? Yeah. I raised my hand to be funny, but I don't think so. Like, we've had challenges. Why? Because, again, I'll just use marketing as an example. Their job is to go and connect with people. Their job is to go serve media, serve ads, right? Give promotions, whatever that might be, right? But they don't think about how do you collect the output of that? What does someone connect with? What does someone read? What promotion do they get? They're doing their jobs, and they're doing their jobs well. They send off their ads, they send off their media, they send off their promotions. How are we ingesting that? How are we organizing it? So low quality data. Poor data fluency. We're going to dig into this one. This is a key. Right, I'm not going to dig too much into it, but it is going to be a big session for us. This is data fluency. It's all right.
Absolutely me. I'm just turning it off.
Now we know what the inside of Laszlo's pocket sounds like. I don't know. You know what? This might not even be a challenge. I'm sure no one here has legacy processes or decision making at their company that inhibits their business. Right? And lack of true analytics. So we'll get into that. What is true analytics? If you have an analyst, and I said this earlier at the table, if you're paying someone to look at a report or to generate data, and then is going to go to someone and say, oh, your number went from 2 to 3 plus 50%, and that's the end of their job, it's BI. It's a portion of analytics, but I don't call that true analytics. Do we actually have the capabilities on our teams to do true analytics? A survey was done across data leaders in the US, Fortune 500 companies. 3 areas that data leaders have identified as top priorities across data and analytics. When I say data and analytics, what I mean is, again, data as a function, where we're talking about data engineering, data product, moving data around, data science, right, and then analytics all together. Because I'm a firm believer that those functions all live together. Improve the way the company uses data and analytics, right? Big focus area. Delivering on a data strategy. Makes sense. Again, more like a water's wet, but that's what, we should all have a data strategy and improve the data culture of the company. I think we're going to dig into data culture a little bit more tomorrow. Most of you guys are logos are up here. How many people here have a data strategy at their company that underpins the entire company? How many people have a data strategy at their company? So-sos. There's so many so-sos. This is part of the change management I'm going to talk about, right? How many people here think that they have a really solid data culture? How many people here have a solid data culture at their company?
Can I ask, do we mind turning off the microphones? Actually,
Yeah.
I'm good with that. How many people? All right, so going back. So in data strategy.
Thank you.
How many people have a good data culture? How many, again, going back to the marketing team, like they understand, man, I gotta serve these ads, I gotta get good data for my data practitioners. I hear, not me. My marketing team's terrible at it. We have to retrain them how to do this right, okay? But then going back is like, do we have these things in our companies? And why not? The type of change that we have to drive, but how can we drive that change, right? Data maturity across an organization, there's 3 challenges the data leaders have identified as blockers to delivering other priorities, right? Influence executives on what data should be driving across the company. How many people here have somebody that's a data practitioner that sits at the C-level? Like a small percentage, we don't. I told my boss it's a huge gap. I told my boss they shouldn't be my boss. Right? Because I want a chief data officer. Right? I think that data has to have that head table, because if not, now it's us trying to influence executives when they're talking about business and other things, and they're like, oh, data, okay. Go get me a coffee, right? Limited data skills across teams that access data. How many people here only allow analysts to get to their data sets? Couple. Good for you. Not me. I'm a pretty big believer in data democratization, right? But then how many people in the business know SQL really well? Or better put, how many people have screwed up SQL and pulled wrong data and use it to make a bad decision? Bingo. Bingo. How do we change that? How do we change that? And then we're going to dig into data fluency. There's poor data fluency everywhere, right? 24% of data analytics leaders say that they've created a data-driven organization. Show of hands. Do you think we can get to 24%? How many people here think they have a data-driven organization? Awesome. Please, can I talk to you later? We do not. We have a data-informed organization. I have really, really smart business leaders. I have a really smart C-level. Right? I will take nothing away from them. They look at dashboards every single day and make decisions off of dashboards. Cost went up, CPA went down, holy shit, ring the bells, something's gotta happen, guys. They're data informed. Are they data driven? Give me an example of being data driven, anyone. Does anyone have like a good example of being data driven? In their industry or not in their industry? Go ahead.
Clinical trials are data driven. You commit to what you do before you start. So if you have A or B, and you sort of said, whatever the results are, we're going to,
right?
The drug either passes or doesn't.
Clinical research is data driven.
Data driven. Fantastic.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with CROs. I don't necessarily will concur that that's 100%. You know where I'm going with it. I think that there's a gray area there when it comes to that, and that's what gets us in trouble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's so.
Yeah. Well, we all have a vote, right?
At least sometimes.
Again, so here, let's do a couple of examples. Leslie, you and I were talking about this last night. I'll tell you something that's data-driven. A Tesla. Turn on autopilot. It is computing so much data at every instant that you can hit autopilot. You can go 75 miles an hour down the freeway. Get off the freeway. Make a left, make a right, make a left, make a right. Park the car. You don't have to touch a damn thing. That's data-driven. There's no human interaction, right? You use machine learning models, you use heuristic models, you're using whatever models you want, and it's allowing you to make decisions without too much human interaction. You have to monitor it, of course. But that, to me, is data-driven. Netflix. That's data-driven. Has anyone studied Netflix at all? Netflix is a bit of a North Star for me, right? I've worked with them in the past. And Netflix is fantastic. Everything that they do is data-driven. We talked about this last night. They actually launch shows, and their episodes for these series are showcased in different orders to different groups. Because they want to see if think about that. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4 is not the same for me or for you. Look it up. Why? Because they want to see if it can increase engagement by shuffling the order. Right? But they film it deliberately like that. Data-driven. Every single one of their ads, every single marketing dollar they spend, right, is automated. And they do an A/B test, and they pull down the lower performer and then add a different ad in, and they continuously do this with no human interaction. To me, that's data-driven. How do you get there? Data's role is only well understood in about 40% of companies. I think that's pretty true, right? How do we get people to understand what we do from a data perspective? And 80% of leaders point to culture, people, process, or organization as the primary obstacles to becoming data-driven. A bit of a 5-step playbook on change management. The first step, access and alignment, right? The objective is to evaluate the current state of analytics and align it with business goals. That's kind of consulty, wordy type stuff. Like, what the hell does that actually mean? Do you know what good analytics and good data looks like and what bad analytics and bad data looks like? And have you assessed yourself and mapped yourself out on some type of maturity arc? And then do you know what the next stage looks like? We should, right? We've done it. Not before I got to FanDuel, but we do it now. Saying, hey, we're a 2 out of 5 on this. This is what 3 looks like, this is what 4 looks like, and this is what best in class looks like, right? Align, but again, in every initiative that you do has to be aligned back into the business. Again, I'm gonna go back to an example. How many people say, oh yeah, we do analytics, but you do just purely BI work? How many people here have their teams that spend more than 50% of their time on creating and maintaining dashboards? Hey, when I joined FanDuel, same thing. My team was a straight BI team, right? We focused really hard to go, we need to move away from being BI. I even shipped analysts into the business units and said, you do your own BI. Right? I'm gonna actually do insights. I'm gonna test things, I'm gonna analyze things, I'm gonna blow your socks off because I'm gonna prove to you things that you thought were true that are not true. And I'm gonna save you money and I'm gonna save you process. I'm gonna prove my value. Again, access and alignment. Second thing in the playbook. Secure stakeholder buy-in and communication, the change vision. Again, we're gonna go back, how many people have a data strategy? Because we should, like-ish, we should have a data strategy. But I'm gonna say, is this stakeholder buy-in? First step is your own team buy-in. Are they aligned? How should data and analytics function at your organization? And within your group and within your own remit? Do you have buy-in from your own team of where you are today and what you guys should look like in 2 years? And then, are you communicating that to the stakeholders? Do you have a vision? Right? So it's internally and across the business. And then you have to engage with the stakeholders. Again, this is just process management. This is the change management piece. If I'm gonna come in and talk to Laszlo and say, hey Laszlo, I'm not gonna do BI for you anymore. I'm gonna give you insights. He's gonna go, what? Why? No, do what I want you to do. Do what we pay you to do. Now I'm gonna explain to him why I'm changing and the value you're gonna get. When you do BI, you might get small pieces of value. But when I tell him every few weeks I'm gonna bring him an insight that's gonna save him $8 million a pop, right? Here, my team that focuses in on existing customer and CRM analytics. Last year, they impacted the company by $230 million. That's how much efficiency we drove. All right? But you got to communicate that. How are you communicating that? Do you have a comms plan? Do you check in I'm actually missing a stakeholder check-in right now, actually, where we're meeting with all the other VPs of the business units, and the next week is with our execs to show them, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, here's the impact to your team personally. We do it every quarter. Is that part of your comp plan? Do you have a comps plan? Right, we do monthly emails. Here's what we said we're gonna do, here's what we did, here's what we screwed up on, here's our next steps. Right, and I have my team send that out from a product side, from a data science side. Again, do you have a comms plan? Are you communicating well with your stakeholders? So you gotta engage, you gotta communicate. You can never over-communicate. Some people think that you can. Some people are like, oh man, I don't wanna send another email, they'll put another meeting. In lieu of anything else, over-communicate. I'd rather have somebody say, chill out on the emails, man, versus, you know what, I don't know what Dan's team does. And I don't know their value. Other way put is maybe we should get rid of it. I like my job. Enablement and support, right? Provide the necessary tools, training, and support for your team. Invest in the right tools and tech. How many people here, or how many people's companies here have assessed a good analytics tool? Like, what tool do you use for analytics? It could be Tableau, right? Because you can use analytics. It's not my favorite, but you can use it. Right? But how many people here have actually assessed that? Right? We use Databricks. We love Databricks. But then again, all my analysts know Python. Right? But again, are you enabling the team with the right tools? Do you have the right tech in place? Have you talked to, I think some people here work on the engineering side. Have you as a data practice at your company, have you guys talked about what's a better underlying infrastructure from a reporting standpoint and from an analytics standpoint? Can I give you guys just a quick example? When I joined, everything for us was done in AWS and Redshift. Redshift is a great reporting structure. It's a great fundamental reporting infrastructure. We use it for analytics, right? And it's very, very inefficient to the point where I can only process about 25 queries at a time. So when I have somebody who doesn't know how to write good SQL, crushing 10 terabytes of data through their code every single morning, and every other analyst is waiting behind them in line until their query is done running for that 2 hours so they can get their work done. Inefficient. Now we're doing Databricks for reporting and Delta Lake for analytics. Have you had that assessment? I might not be right, guys, but I have my own personal model, progress, not perfection. I'm trying to speed up analytics here at the company. But have you assessed it? Have you assessed the tools for your team? How many people here have an analytics specific or data science specific or data engineering specific learning and development program? Good. Because we all should. How are you up-leveling your teams? Do they know how to write SQL? Hey, guys, I'm an analyst by trade. Man, my first year, I was like, I can join all these tables together. And you look at my code and it's like left join, left join, left join, left join, left join, left join. I look back and I'm like, fuck, they should have fired me. Like, that's the worst code ever, right? It's terrible code. But man, I was super happy because I had combined data sets, you know? Right? It wasn't until 2 years later that I tucked that away in my closet and didn't tell anyone, right? Because you actually learn how to code. Are you up-leveling? Last week I had my whole team in New York and we actually had a data engineer come in and teach us more proficient SQL. Good, because my team needs it, right? Because they're the reason that there's a bottleneck in our system, or there was a bottleneck, right? And another thing on support. Do you enable your teams to say no? The business comes to you and says, get out your notepad, do one thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And are they order takers? Or can you, bless them, or can you actually go back to the business and say, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to give that to you because I don't think there's value in it. I'm going to give you this instead. But how many people's teams actually do that? Are you supporting them in saying the no? Right? Is your team reactive versus proactive? Are you supporting them to get away from being the order takers and to actually focus on business? question I ask every single one of my, and again, guys, this isn't novel. I ask every one of my partners, and I coach my team on this all the time. When they bring me their plans every single quarter, what are you going to do in this next quarter? I say, what's keeping your stakeholders up at night, and what questions do they not have answers to? I want a list. And then I say, go and figure out how to answer all those things and bring insights. I never say, well, what do they want? I had an old head of data science who could just bring me a list of, this is what people want. I'm like, they don't know what to ask you. Right? How many people in the business know what a neural network is? And how can you apply it to the business? Don't tell my data scientists what to do. Tell them what your problem is. They'll figure it out. Right? So how are we enabling our teams? And are we enabling failure? I have a monthly all hands. I give 2 awards. The best piece of work and biggest failure. Same price. Everyone gets $300. Why? Because I want innovation. Because you're scared to fail, right? Then you're not innovating. You're not thinking outside the box. Right? I had people lined up and be like, oh, I screwed this up big time. Good. What did you try? What didn't work? Maybe it worked, but your communication sucks. That's okay. Now I know I need to train you on communication. Right? 4th step, implement and iterate. Again, I have my personal credo, progress, not perfection. I'd rather get 70% of something right in a week than 90% of it right in 3 weeks. Give it to me in a week. Right? Because the most important thing is it's up and to the right. Now there are certain pieces of business, right, maybe in the medical field, you probably have to be a little bit more specific than that, but again, let's trim the nuances here. Most of our businesses, as long as you're saying, man, if you do this, it's going to go up and to the right a little bit, that's all that really matters. So I told you it's 8%, it came in at 6%, or it came in at 12%. Like boo-hoo, it went up and to the right. Like it worked, right? Execute and make sure that you're implementing and iterating. Don't let perfection inhibit progress, right? Roll out changes in phases. I mean, I'm still rolling out changes. I joined FanDuel just under 3 years ago. I'm still rolling out changes in the organization. Right? Why? Because they're not going to, I can't give it all at once. Because it's too much change, too much disruption. Right? We always run a small pilot on things. Hey, what if we run a pilot over here? Oh, it works? Okay, cool. Now let's scale that. It makes people feel better. Hey, we tested it for you. We ran it in isolation. It's not disruptive to the business. There's a value add to it. Okay, now we have change. What's my next step change? And I list my changes in order. I have a list on my computer of what are the things I still need to change in my company, and how am I approaching each one of those as a data leader. Right? Gather feedback. I gather feedback on my team all the time. I'm always asking, what value are we adding? Are they good in meetings? Right? Are they changing your business? That's my number one question. Have they changed fundamentally how you do things? Again, progress, not perfection. And then measure and celebrate. It's really ironic that as a data group that I run into this all the time, my team specifically, right? We're a data group, and then they give me their goals, and I'm like, what are the KPIs you're going to hit? And they're like, well, what are your OKRs? Right? It's like, hold on, we do the quantitative work, but yet we struggle to have a KPI what we're actually going to drive. Listen, I work for a company. Our goal is to make money. It's no secret, guys, that we make money. That's what we're in business for. Okay? And so it's okay for my analysts to say, oh, we're doing this insight so I can help you make more money. Well, how much incremental dollars am I bringing in? Right? Again, have a KPI, measure it, and celebrate the milestones. Again, people try to bite it all off at once. It's hard. Celebrate the small wins. Hey, I turned my analyst from a BI team into an insights team. Bingo, celebration. I still haven't touched my data science team yet. They're still being reactive, but let me do this one first. Right? Then we'll celebrate that. Then go, so on and so forth as you're going through change. Right? So that for me is fundamentally why data is so important now. Right? There's so much of it, and the cost of doing it's low. There's so much value for any business. Again, I'm saying that this is the water's wet comment to this group, right? There's so much value in data that we can bring to the business. You can run your entire business through data. Laszlo has Laszlo made a comment last night about being the trusted advisor, and we talked about it in the podcast, right? Are you a trusted advisor to the business? Do they believe in what you're going to bring them? Do they trust you? Right? But you can bring data, and you can enable the business to be smarter, make better business decisions, right? But it doesn't start up from nowhere. You don't just walk in and be like, hey, I'm the data person, and I'm going to change everything you do, and everyone's like, oh, hell yeah, come on in. No, they're like, what? Don't disrupt what I do. So the change management is extremely important. Yeah.
So question. So I know you're in the business of everyone. Right?
Of course.
So, as a CRO, that's what we do. That's the driver, not just the safety and efficacy of the study, but is to make money, of course. That's literally in our mandate. So here's my question, right? When you're talking about making money, you're talking about your change management process. And as you can probably attest to, it's about what have you done for me lately? Right? Because it's great that you're giving the analogy to social media, Netflix, etc. Because the idea is, we have executives that, hey, I see yards after catch. I want this AWS commercial to be realistic in my company. Right? And I want to know specifically what it took to get that touchdown on this specific trial. So, again, to your point, it's about expectations, right? So, how are you managing that change to say, hey, wait a minute, you're not going to get yards after catch. You're not going to know the percent of what it's going to take in order to get that touchdown tomorrow because we're not there.
Yeah. I think it's simple. It's one word, right? I ask it over and over and over again. Why? Why do you want to see yards after catch? They'll be like, well, because, and then they're going to dig one level deeper. And then they go, well, because I want to see the efficacy of us showing that data and then how it does for engagement for our users. Why is that important to you? You're going to bring it all the way down. I tell my team, be annoying, ask why 5 times. Yeah. You will literally get the most annoying human being in the room. Right? And you're like a 5-year-old. Why, right? But when you ask why enough times, you actually get down to what they want. I want to understand that by showing this on this commercial, this person catching a ball, yards after catch, are my people more engaged with the ad? So what's that view through look like? And then are they then coming to our site and doing something? That's what you want. You don't really give a shit about how many yards after catch was showed. So keep asking why, right? And train your teams to. Isaac?
Yeah, success metrics and KPIs.
Yeah.
Do you think your teams have their own success metrics and KPIs, or should they be like, our accountability is to make sure this business unit's KPIs are more successful? Like, I want to contribute to
That's a great question.
$3 million for them, and that's my responsibility. So, own KPIs, or are they connected with
They're connected.
KPIs?
They're connected. I say, what are the business objectives? And how is what we are doing ladder up to the business objectives? For every analyst and every data scientist on my team, I say, if you do a piece of work, I want to know what pillar this work ladders up into that's part of our company-wide data strategy. Or not data, our company-wide strategy, right? We have a commercial strategy, we have an operation. Which pillar does it line in? Are we driving operational efficiencies? Okay, cool. Okay, I get it. Now your KPI is to reduce human error, blah, 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 right? Or maybe it's a revenue thing. I mean, I have a marketing analytics team. Like, their job is to drive efficacy of ads, right? We reduced the number of promotions, but yet we didn't lower acquisition volume. Bingo. I could quantify that into a dollar amount. But it all ladders back into the business. We're enablers. We're enablers to the business, right? That's why I think data as a function is an underpinning function across the business, yeah.
In addition to connecting to those financial metrics, I think it's a fantastic idea. Do you also measure some way of like loyalty or repeat business, some kind of consulting, internal, loyalty to you all? Does that make sense?
It does. Let me repeat it back to make sure it makes sense to me. Are you talking about when we're working with internal stakeholders that they keep coming back to us and asking us to do work for them?
Like Net Promoter Score, for example, right?
Yeah. We don't, because we have a hub and spoke model. right? Like I have, so my business is in online gaming. So I have a casino analytics team that like lives and breathes our casino business. They go to the casino leadership meetings. When everyone's together in like New York and the casino team's like, we're going to go to happy hour, and the sportsbook team's, we're going to go to happy hour. And then I'm like, we're going to go to happy hour. I'm like by myself. Like I'm like drinking by myself because my team goes off with their business partners because they want to be embedded. So we don't measure that. It's a really good thing to measure. We do measure it on query efficiencies and how happy people are with how we process, right, with our warehouse and our warehouse efficiencies. That's probably the closest thing that we get. But that's still a KPI that we report on every single month, query efficiency, right? And then we ask the business, is your team happy? And they'll be like anecdotally, they're not pissed. Right? I'm like, yeah, okay, that's good, right? Like, that's progress. Because they used to just be pissed off all the time because their queries take so long to run.
So, going back to your point about asking your team to, establish or argue for what KPIs they will be using, you're really asking them how their goal statement aligns with the KPIs that the company has already embraced, right? Right. It's not about creating new, but rather tell me what metrics of the business that we have already embraced are you attacking by this action?
Right. Or yeah, or what metric or what process, right? Like if I can create a process that automates something and all of a sudden I'm giving another team, we automated streaming data where we had a team manually doing this type of work. We gave another team back 7 engineers. Oh, you don't think I rolled that up? 7 engineers times how much you pay an engineer? Right, but yeah, but that's an efficiency. So I always want to make sure that my team is focused on an outcome. And by the way, when I joined, they weren't. They were just doing work. And here's the difference, right? And I'll give you guys an example. As a young analyst, I'll self-proclaim I was wildly popular. Why was I wildly popular? Because you can come to me and I was fast. Self-proclaimed again. Right? But I can get you data, I can get you an insight, I can do stuff really quick for you. Man, everyone loved me. I got so many Christmas cards that year. Right? And we actually had something called the peer bonus. So you can peer bonus someone internally. This is a different company, and you got $175. Right? In 1 year, I think I had like 130 peer bonuses at $175 a clip. Nice, right? Then I had a year review came. And my boss goes, what'd you accomplish this year? I was ready, man. I got my scroll out, it hit the ground, it rolled, all the shit that I did that year. He goes, he didn't answer my question. What'd you actually accomplish? I said, but look at all the stuff I did. But I didn't accomplish a damn thing. It wasn't a good review. It wasn't. Widely popular, did a lot of things, but it didn't anchor into what am I supposed to be driving. It was just I was fast at getting data and I can get you numbers real quick, right? Again, this is going back into your teams need to be focused. When I joined FanDuel, that's what my team did. Well, we're doing all this stuff. Oh, we're maintaining this workflow, we're maintaining this table, we're maintaining this dashboard. I'm like, stop. What are you guys actually accomplishing? Going back to, oh, we're driving this business pillar, and we're not going to drive the whole pillar, but if our goal is to drive, I'm just going to make something up, $10 million in efficiency, this process drives $200,000 in efficiency. Bingo. Good. We can do that. That's helpful to reach the overall goal. So I think that's why it's really important to anchor, and my team gets so sick of me. What's your impact? I had to change it from impact, because they think impact is always a dollar amount, to what did the business do differently because of your work? And a lot of times it's like, it'll be some type of some metric that you can quantify. Any other questions before we break out? Yeah, go ahead.
We have a hub and spoke model as well, and what I find difficult about having some kind of, KPIs for us, it's a team of data scientists. So we do machine learning and modeling and stuff. But it's like the spoke that we're doing it for kind of takes it and then owns it. And we don't, they see us as kind of the supplier of that, and then it goes to their KPIs. So I find it hard to quantify what our KPIs are Because I always say, we're here to do good science. We don't care about the actual outcome because we don't have targets in place. But it's because sometimes the news we have to give them about how much volume, I'm Canada Post, so it's like mail volume and parcel volume. I'm projecting how much volume is going to go through the mail flow, and it may be an answer they don't like. But as long as the science is good, I'll stand behind it.
The science can be good, but it can have no impact,
Yeah.
right? And if it has no impact, then is your work good?
What I'm hoping is that it'll be the carrot in the coal mine saying, if you don't do anything differently, but we're not telling them what to do differently. Maybe that's the step we have.
I think that's the thing, because so for me, so I have a data science team also, and I'll give you a couple models. Like we enable our CRM marketing team with propensity to play models and churn models. So you can imagine how they use those. Oh, you lost a bunch of bets. You're going to churn. I better give you a promotion. Here's another $10. Here's another $50, whatever that is, because I don't want users to churn. And I want to increase your experience, so we're going to quantify what's your propensity, like what's that next game that we think that you want to play, so we can populate it for you right in the interstitial, right in the front end, right? They all sound good, but what if we did it and there was no actual quantifiable impact to the business? Now, if we're in academia, I get it. Like we publish papers too, and the science is really good, but the science is only going to be good if it actually does something for you. And I actually think that it is about understanding how people operationalize and use it. When I say it, use the models in which you're creating for them, and then monitoring if it's actually having an impact in the business. And it's interesting, it's a different model than what we do, because we house our own models and we also monitor them, right? So we monitor for data drift, we monitor for any type of errors that can come up, and the business changes. Users change, so we might and so we go and maintain all of our models at like probably every 6 months. We'll go back and you tweak them a little bit. But if you're going to sell it, I mean, because you're more or less kind of like a little startup in your company. You're saying, hey, I'm going to build this for you. Here you go. Yeah, we're closed now. See you guys later. Like have it, right? I would probably try to anchor it in to say, here's the quantifiable impact, and it's good for your team and for their careers. I built this really good model, right? And I deserve a promotion. Well, why do you deserve a promotion? Because out of a $100 million budget, I optimized 10% of that for you. Okay.
So that's what I want to move into 2024 is more simulations, what if kind of thing, showing them, okay, this is the path that volume's going on, but we ran a simulation, and if you do these 3 things or whatever, this is what it would change to. Right now, we pass it over, and they sit around the boardroom and think, what can we do to increase volume?
For me, like that's the like. I almost require that for my teams. It's either you're going to run a test to then see what's the incremental impact, because that's the true way of seeing incrementality, or we'll run a counterfactual. This is the trend that it would have been, but here's the new trend, and I'm going to take that difference, and that's going to be your incremental impact. Side note, that's exactly how YouTube quantifies impact on the platform. They do very simple counterfactual, right? But I mean, I would guide you to move into that realm, because then you can quantify the value of your business. Because again, how many data scientists do you have? 8. So imagine if those 8 people, at the end of the year, you can say, I have 8 people and I delivered $80 million of value. Can I have 12? Fuck, you want 50? Right? Again, this is how I get, and it's not about getting more headcount, but the more heads I have, the more work we can do. I started off with 3 data scientists. I now have 12, and I'm now pitching my boss for 8 more. But I can show him the dollar amounts that they're driving for the business. And it's a really easy conversation. I think we want to break out. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate the engagement, and I'm looking forward to the next class. And this is for the breakout session. The key question you should be asking.
Yes, do you want to intro the
Yeah, so sorry, we had one more slide. So as we break out, like these are some of the key questions. I think we probably covered most of them just in our conversation, but things that I want to think about. How many organizations have a central data strategy that underpins the business? And by the way, we're getting there. I'm like this too.
I have a data strategy, but does it underpin every single component of the business? I have a product team that like runs amok. Not a data product team, a core product team. And they're generating all this data, but they're not necessarily part of my data strategy, but I need to get them part of the overall data strategy. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I ask a clarifying question though? When you say data strategy, do you mean data and analytics strategy, or do you mean, is that an umbrella statement?
It's an umbrella statement.
Okay.
I actually think they're two very different things.
I do too, that's why I'm.
Two very different things, yes, but it's a data and analytics strategy.
Thank you.
Right, what are the obstacles you face when creating and operationalizing your strategy? Right, now we're gonna go back to change management. Identify what those gaps are. I have a business partner who just doesn't wanna listen because they just think that this is how it's always been done and they don't wanna do it. Cool, how do you break that barrier? We're gonna have that conversation in the masterclass. How do you break down that wall, right? How do you overcome those obstacles? What is your organization's current state of data capabilities? Do you have a data science team that's delivering models that they're embedding right into your core product or right into your operations? Or I know when I joined, I had data scientists working on classification models for our customer service team. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's so low value. So the people who are pissed off that call in, you're classifying the people who call in and what tier they're in? It's not giving us any value. People are pissed. Like, let the customer service team classify them, right? Do real work. Sorry if you guys work in customer service. Right? So what are your data capabilities? What's your organization? And where do you want to get to? What's good, better, best? We do 1 through 5 on a maturity arc. And then how do you break down the silos across departments? Huge one. Again, this is stuff that I think all of us do. So things to tease out, questions we should be asking ourselves. And then for me, it's all about how do you incorporate the change management playbook into how you want to change these different things. That's all you.